Večer. Dober dan, lepo pozdravljeni, ni še večer, lepo pozdravljeni na današnji prvi debati, ker so z nami kolektivi iz bližnje regije in je festival mednarodni, imamo nekaj mednarodnih gostov, bom nadaljevala v angleščini. Upam, da nas boste vse razumeli, imeli bomo pa seveda tudi nekaj fotografij, če ne boste razumeli vsega. So hello everyone and welcome at the first debate of the day. We're going to be talking about the regional comics collectives from, well, mostly from Hungary, we could say. We have Serbian comics collective Stripotetke, the Croatian comics magazine Strip-PREFIKS, as well as the Ukmukfukk Zine Festival, the International Comics Festival Budapest, and the independent publisher Hurrikan Press. So maybe you know some of them, maybe you don't know anything about them. So firstly, I would maybe like to start with Stripotetke, which are a Serbian collective. We have Jana, Adamović and Dragana Radanović here with us directly from Serbia. So maybe since this is your first presentation in Slovenia, maybe you could tell us about this story, how you actually became a collective, how you decided to create this at all, and what was this first intriguing exhibition.
Okay, first of all, thank you all for inviting us to take part at Tinta. We are very happy and honored to be here and talk a little bit about our collective. So, Stripotetke is a collective of female comic authors and the first official collective of that kind in Serbia. What kind of inspired us to create it is just basically a very rigid and patriarchal view of comics and the comic scene in Serbia. So we've just, when we would come together as women who are into comics and discuss the situation and just the situations that we find ourselves in when we go to festivals, we've realized that there is quite obviously a problem, and that the only way to really make it better is to go at it or in an organized way and very systematically. And we were also inspired by other comic collectives around the world and in Europe, for example, the French comic collective, the Authors Against Sexism. So we've decided to create like a real but small organization for now. And we've just
how small? How many of you are?
We were only 4 in the beginning, so we have 4 founding members, myself and Dragana included, and then there is also Ana Milojković Omi and Danica Jevđević. Sorry, but now I think that we've grown to 13 official members. But we work with all kinds of people and artists, no matter if they're officially part of the collective or not. So we are actually working, we would like to make the comic scene in Serbia a little bit more artistically inclined, so inclined towards personal projects of the authors, not only commercial things, and also just to have this mission and talk about our mission, that is that comics are not or shouldn't be separated into things for men and boys and things for girls and women, but that we are all together in one scene. Maybe you could take over?
Yeah.
Tell us maybe a little bit about this show that we can just see on the big screen, since this was actually an answer to a happening, right? Is this exhibition still open?
There is the whole story behind this exhibition. So basically what happened is that one of the most valuable or most loved magazines for youth and older people in Serbia try to make a tribute to Hogar the Terrible. It's a character from comics that we all loved when we were children, and we still love it. And what happened is that they invited only 15 male comic artists to make illustrations for this tribute. And we thought, okay, this is like unacceptable. You cannot have a character that is a childhood love of all of us and then just forget to invite also women that were reading it. And then we kind of protested in one small video that became viral later, and we figured out, okay, we're not going to complain only, we will going to make something about it. And what happened is that the daily newspaper Danas, that you can see here, they collaborated with us to make a pamphlet in which we invited 19 illustrators from all of the region. So not only in Serbia, but also we called illustrators that we knew from Bosnia and Croatia. I think maybe even Slovenia also.
I think Dora Kaštrun.
Yeah. I think also Dora was part of it. So it was 19 brilliant illustrations of Helga, which is a female character in Hogar the Terrible that is also always kind of forgotten. And we reinvented her role as a modern mother or modern figure, not only mother, in these comics. So it was a very big boom in the beginning. So there is a Helga 02. You can, I think, if you go for the next one, that is the Helga 2.0 exhibition, where we invited 55 artists, both female and male, from all over the world. Italy, Canada, the Balkans, like it became world known right now, and it is the part where we invited them with their contributions, because we wanted to also show that we're not just gonna stay on this small level of women, but also we want to see also everyone participating in this kind of actions. Also, Stripotetke and academic involvement, I see that you are here. We are, as a collective, very proud of making theoretical work in comics about the situation in Serbia. What you can see is two works. On the left is a work that is a cooperation with the feminism movements in Serbia, where they now figured out what are the women that we represent, how they look like, what are the themes that usually are published in Serbia regarding gender, and the situation is terrible. And we're happy that now it's official. Like now we have a theoretical work that basically says to everyone they are right, the situation needs to improve. And on the second part, you see mine and Jana's work on historical overview of things that were happening with female movements in the whole region. So we're also trying to make it in academic work as well, because that is the thing that sometimes is the most heard when you make a research about something.
Also, just to add, and this was a point that was made yesterday during the conferences, we wanted to make these official works because we were thinking one day there will be archived somewhere or in some library, and it's going to be proof that women worked in comics, because everything that our predecessors made was kind of made to be invisible because it wasn't documented. So we are just two of many other comic authors from the region who are kind of trying to uncover this hidden history and make it known, make it public, and make everybody aware of it. So this is just one small step in that direction.
Maybe before we conclude, by the way, I'm so sorry for the technical issues. That's why we delayed the debate a bit. But before we conclude, could you please also tell us a bit about this at home, would be the translation. You already did a book, although you're existing for 2 years now?
Yes. So it will be 2 years officially in January. We've started working on this book way before we officially became a collective. We actually officialized ourselves in order to kind of facilitate the publishing of this book. By talking to each other, we realized that the Serbian comic scene doesn't really cater to different tastes, and you can't find comics that are not very genre-oriented. They're either adventure, detective, superheroes. They're not very contemporary. So we wanted to do something that's contemporary, something that's that everybody can find themselves in. We invited 11 women comic artists from Serbia because we wanted to make an all-female book, just to, again, show that there are plenty of women who work in comics whose work is on a high artistic level, because that is also one of the criticisms that we hear all the time. You're not getting published because you're not good enough, but actually you're not getting published because you're not part of the boy club sometimes, you know? So we've managed to find 11 wonderful artists who were able to make their comics. And we chose the theme at home that everybody could interpret in their own way. Kind of inspired by the pandemic, because when we were all hunkered down at home and had to work at home and take care of the home. But that's actually a daily reality for many of us, even when the pandemic is over. So we wanted to explore the theme of mental labor and paid, unpaid work, and how do our colleagues kind of balance that, or what they think about it. What's their inspiration when we say at home? So that's the book you see in front of you.
Okay, thank you. By the way, you can see the book also on the stand of Stripolis. So let me just maybe stop with this one, so you can maybe go check that later as well. Thank you very much. And if you don't believe, if you're not going to believe them that it's very important to do that in Serbia, go visit some Serbian comic festival. If you're a woman there, you're sort of correcting the statistics, we could say. Let us continue with the Comics Festival Budapest with Eszter Szép. She's a comic scholar. You might have met her already yesterday. Eszter, we can see in 2019 it was already the 15th festival. Are you there since the beginning? This is, I mean, it's a long festival by now. Anything changed during the years?
Yeah, hi. So I'm here to talk about the International Comics Festival Budapest, and no, I haven't been involved since the beginning. So I was the director during the COVID years until last year, and this year, no, next May, it's always in May, next May will be the 20th edition of the International Comics Festival, and what I wanted to emphasize is the international aspect of this. So each year the festival invites, has some 1,500 guests. Most of the guests are interested in the fair. I think that as a comics organizer, the fair is definitely a highlight, but the challenge is to invite people for the programs, and the guests are instrumental in the appeal of the festival. We collaborate with various cultural institutions, and so if any of you here is an artist who wants to get invited to Hungary, I'm the person to talk to.
You maybe have some direction, like are you doing more genre comics or alternative author?
Yeah, so this is the biggest comics festival in Hungary, and shortly we'll talk about the alternative comic festival Ukmukfukk. Zsófia will talk about that. So this festival attempts to build bridges. So it has because it's now the 20th, so it has a strong tradition of very traditional Hungarian comics, which are usually literary adaptations, and just like Dragana and the girls have been describing, we are also coming from a patriarchal structure, but I think that steps have already been made to be more inclusive. There is a lot to be done on this front, obviously. And there is no theme, so we just want to bring people together. But you see behind me are the posters created each year by the person who won the Hungarian Comics Awards. So this one you see right now was created by Anna Bencedi, who is also a guest here at the WOMCOM part of Tinta Festival. Another thing that I'm proud of, and that maybe also start building bridges, is the exhibitions that we try to organize in cafes and partner institutions. Comics are very isolated in Hungary. I don't know if that is an issue in the other countries, but it's very difficult to make the public see the value of visual expression, graphic art, and particularly comics. So I think that in our region, to have a cafe in which you hang some comics is actually already an intervention. So we are making small steps, and so I'm no longer the director, but I still want to continue with some stuff. And finally, another thing that we do is call for artists to have their first works published at the festival and giving them creative feedback or mentorship. So
only Hungarian artists, or anyone can apply?
Well, so far it was Hungarian artists. So this is again, yesterday at the festival we talked about financial difficulties. So yeah, we have to be aware of the context that we are coming from. So what we can do and what I think we are good at is the mentorship part or the publicity part, but I don't think that any of the countries here can offer major financial prizes with our awards or endeavors. Actually, the Eisner Awards don't give money, so we are not behind the Eisners in that respect, although the marketing still needs some steps. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say.
An important question, since comic book lovers, if they go to France, they need to understand French language, and Hungarian is quite different as well. So do you speak in English at the festival?
Yeah, so the international guests that we can invite with the help of some cultural institutions usually speak English, so there are English language programs, and the website also has an English language section, or used to have when I was doing it. And yeah, so the language barrier, I feel the burden there. That's a point we definitely need to improve on, because most of the programs are still in Hungarian. So like now, like this, we discuss things in English without translation. Like, I think that's pretty cool.
Okay, thank you, Eszter.
This is just a word. This is this year's program poster done by Mark Laszlo, who is a really cool young artist who works for the US.
Where is the venue? How does it look like this, or?
Yeah, so the venue has changed recently. Previously, it was in a big ruin pub, like a factory turned into a pub at the end of at the outskirts of the city, and people were not very happy about having to travel more than an hour to get there. As an organizer, I was not very happy of people not traveling an hour to get there. So now it's in a central location at the university campus.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Yeah, and our ride in Slovenia means you're in the next country. So we're happy that you moved it. Thank you, Eszter. Now we're continuing with Croatian magazine called Strip-PREFIKS. We have Mihaela Erceg with us. You are an editor, could you take that microphone please? You're an editor of the magazine, which already has 4 issues now, right? Mm-hmm. And could you tell me, like, Croatia has much more magazines than we do in Slovenia. Actually, we only have Stripburger magazine at the moment, if we don't count these Mickey Mouses and whatever. But Strip-PREFIKS is one of Croatian magazines, and you have quite a rich magazine industry. So how come you decided actually to do a new magazine, and what new things you also offered with that?
Oh God! Well, it all started with a Facebook group called Hrvatski autorski strip, which all started by being very drunk one night with Marko Dješka, who made the group, and he came up to me and a friend of mine, and he was like, "We will make a Facebook group where people will post their author comics from Croatia and Balkans." And we said, well, we won't do that because nobody will post there. And he said, no, I will do that if you two want to do that. And we were like, we don't want to do that. They won't live. And he was like, no, it's decided. I'm going to do that, and you are going to be the administrators. And me and my friend didn't really believe it. And we were just really drunk. And then at 4 a.m. he sends us a message like, hey, I made a Facebook group, and bit by bit, that group started living, and there were so many people who joined it, and it became, I think, the largest and the best connected comics authors group in Balkans. And we just simply had to expand to publishing, and that's how Strip-PREFIKS came to be. We were getting so many good submissions and stuff in the group that we wanted to make a comic that would be, well, kind of our inspiration was heavy metal, but in Croatia. So that's what we were going for. We wanted to, a lot of Croatian, zines and magazines, they are much more artistic and stuff. We wanted to do something that could also combine the commercial aspect of comics. We also have Ukmukfukk Zine, which is much more artistic and author driven, and that's where people submit their works. But in Strip-PREFIKS we do not accept submissions. Instead we invite authors who we think are good or have a good comic to be a part of the number.
By the way, if there's any authors here, I barely see you, but I believe maybe you are there. They just have open call for Ukmukfukk on the theme of body, right?
What?
I think the new open call is
Oh yeah,
body.
The new open call is body, tijelo. Yeah.
Strip-PREFIKS, these are the authors you invite to publish with you, and you're mostly inviting Croatian authors, right? But you have also some foreign ones. For example, this is some British artists, right?
Yes, but he lives in Croatia for some reason. No, we don't only invite Croatian artists, we invite also artists from the region, so also Serbia, Bosnia, Slovenia, Macedonia, Montenegro, even we had Romanian and Bulgarian artists, as long as it's in the Balkans. Because the truth is that there is not enough work from solely Croatian authors, but also it's not our point to make a patriotic, only Croatian zine. We want to collaborate with our colleagues from the other countries. We want to make a community.
A Balkanian author.
Balkanian author comic, yeah.
This is gonna be the next Facebook group. By the way, I think this is really standing out because of this special rubric with how to make comics. How did you realize that maybe something like that is needed? Usually we have either some only reviews or I don't know, some texts about different aspects of comics, but this is really technical aspect of comics. Why did you decide to put that in?
The idea is from Corin Hunjak, a non-binary Croatian artist. And they we were thinking, what do we lack in the magazines that we read? And it's something that would make people continue reading it. And not just that, but to know how things happen behind the page. Because a lot of us, we see artists who make comics and we don't know what happens actually in the process, or how to format something, or how the dimensions and pixels work. And it's something that needs, at least I would have needed it to be explained to me, and I think I still do. So it was a very useful thing we came up with.
By the way, Hrvatski autorski strip or Croatian author comic became a publishing house as well in, very recently, right? But you have quite some albums by now.
Yes, I'm not part of the publishing process because I'm very bad with deadlines and money. But Sasha Paprić runs most of the publishing together with Šiška. And not only that, this year we have applied, I think, 3 titles to the state funds. So, yeah, it's a lot. But it's really good to see that something is happening on the Croatian comic scene.
Okay, Mihaela, thank you very much. We will continue with Zsófia Rumi. So, Zsófia, we're to talk about Ukmukfukk Zine Festival as well as Hurrikan Press. What was first, and how are these two things connected with each other?
Okay, hi. Actually, they aren't connected so much because I guess I'm in both of those things, and my partner Arpad also. So Hurrikan Press is a small Riso studio in Budapest, actually 10 years old this year, and my partner started this, funded it by himself, and it started with one Riso machine in his bedroom, which then became probably 8 Riso machines right now because he's collecting for parts and looking for drums and stuff. But yeah, now we have a studio. We just moved for the 4th time, but seems like this is a good spot. And we are mainly focusing on right now publishing ourselves because we are both printmakers and I'm really trying to make more comics. And also publishing, that's my comic, and also publishing some local artists, but also when we meet people that we really want to work with from abroad, it also happens sometimes. So that's Hurrikan Press, and it's the 2 of us, and it is not a sustainable business. I'm just letting you know. We both do other jobs, like my partner goes abroad for painting commission murals, and comes back, and I work in puppet theater and other places, and then we both then try to put some money into making more zines and books. And Ukmukfukk Zine Fest is a primary zine, but also primary zine festival, but also comics and other stuff. There's somebody in the audience, I'm not gonna look at her, who is actually founding member of Ukmukfukk. I was also involved in the beginning, but I was more like 3 people started to do Ukmukfukk, and this is also 10 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. I just outed her. It's 9 years ago, and it also started with a Facebook group because we found each other on Tumblr, and then some people were like, okay, let's make a zine festival in Budapest. And there was a huge Facebook group with a lot of opinions, but 3 of them lived together in one flat, so they were very efficient in actually bottom lining and organizing the festival. So, and then they were doing these 3 people, Shoma, Julci, and Petra, for I think 3 years, and then they were getting a little bit, maybe getting a little bit burned out, and then they asked more people to take over more operational stuff, and then a lot of us joined. And I want to say Ukmukfukk is a 100% volunteer-based festival, so because we are no funding, no problem, which is not true, but Hungarian funding system is extremely meticulous and I don't know, we decided that we'd rather not try to depend on funding and try to do this strictly volunteer-based. We actually took this model from our friend Christian, who is organizing UHA Fest, which is an ultra hung festival. It's an experimental music festival in Budapest. It's happening right now, actually. And their policy was to not ever apply for funding and keep it volunteer-based, because then it's, and it was working for them for a while. Actually, they are stopping for a little bit also. I mean, not also, we're not stopping, but because of course it's not true when you are doing volunteer work for so long, you get to burn out, or you like self-exploitation is real, and I think it's kind of dangerous to do that. So it's nice to recognize when people have to take a break. But we are 10 people in Ukmukfukk, so we are always somebody steps up, somebody has a bigger job and they step down a little bit, and another person is more involved in that year. Most of the people are coming from animation field or printmaking field, and that's why we had the screening, and Hungarian animation is, I think, kind of amazing. So our comic scene is very small, but we are hoping that we can show people how exciting is to make experimental or alternative comics, and I feel like the more we do it, the more people come, and I can see, you know, that feeling when somebody sees a book and they have that emoji with the bomb in the head. Like, I don't know if anybody can relate to this, to find a comic or a zine and be like, wow, like that first like sparkle book, like Sparkle Bird, you know. And then I think this is really working. Like, it's been 8 editions, and I do see in Budapest a lot of people getting to work with stuff like this. This was all stuff from me and Arpi that you saw on the screen, and maybe there's some photos from Ukmukfukk also from last year.
We heard Eszter before saying that already their festival is a bit of a niche festival, as in the way comics are, comics are placed in the Hungarian society. So how is it like when you're an alternative comic zine festival?
Mm-hmm. So the scale of Ukmukfukk is, I think last year we had 27 tables or something like this, so it's not very big. And the range is from photozine to perzine to comics to like small publishing houses. So it is it's quite a wide range of stuff. Like it's like Ukmukfukk is more of defined by the medium of self-published or small publisher publications than comics. So it has some artist books and a lot of different stuff. So it does attract different folks. And also I think when you have a very niche subculture, those people show up. Like sometimes if something is so small, those people will, even if it's raining, they will come. Like you saw Anna's exhibit, like people came in the rain with the trash bags on their heads like me. And I think in Budapest there isn't another alternative like this kind of festival, so people come and they plan it and they come from different cities and show up for it. So for us, getting the audience, those like few thousand people during the weekend is not so hard. Because the scale is small, and we kind of decided not to grow. Some people are asking us to grow bigger, but since we want to keep it for now, we're not gonna get another venue and make it bigger. The venue is kind of central in Ukmukfukk. Right now it's Goya, which is a cooperatively run space in Budapest. The workers own the whole place, very nice people, and we have a really nice deal with them, and they are really happy for us to be there. And I think people don't realize when you do a festival how important it is to have good terms with the place, and we have this right now with Goya, and it's so nice.
Now let me ask you something. It's going to be a question for all of you as well. I don't want us to, for example, we know problem with funding is quite big, but let us not conclude with that. Maybe we try with the question like, you said you're not trying to get bigger, but still, at least in Slovenia, probably is, for example, how to attract the younger generations to get to know stuff, to come at the events. For example, just in short answer, what do you see in Ukmukfukk as your biggest challenge, and what are, for example, some ways you are trying to reach this new audience with, or how to present them this new your contents to the new audience?
Mm-hmm. I think that one big challenge we have is that the festival is international, and we were gonna do it 1 year international and then 1 year local. But it wasn't really working because there wasn't enough locals that we thought were super inspiring to showcase, like to fill the whole festival. So this is a challenge we cannot give enough tables to Hungarians, but we really want to bring every year international people, so people can see a bunch of cool stuff that is happening around us in the neighbor countries. So I think this is one challenge. With audience, we don't have a problem because it's always packed, because it's of its size.
Thank you. Mihaela, the same question for you. How are you trying to reach the new audiences? What do you find the most challenging?
Well, usually, I don't know what to say, because it is true that comics, they have become a commodity. They aren't like back in Yugoslavia, you had comics on every kiosk, you could get them anywhere, but now they are more exclusive. And it's an issue that we do struggle with, but there is a lot of artistic talent in Croatia. So we are always like looking how to cut things from the numbers, and we get a record number of submissions for Ohoho. So we try to advertise mainly in the artistic groups, and have people who will find talent at the art academies like Corin and another. They work at the art academy, so they can always find new people who could join the magazine.
Thank you. Jana, Dragana, how are you trying to reach new audiences to spread the motto?
Well, so far, I think that our mission and the fact that we've been collaborating with organizations that are not in comics, for example, Communicart, who is kind of into comics because they do organize one comic festival, but that's not their primary goal is PR and art. Then I don't know, the French Cultural Institute, the BFM, and also Femix. So these are like feminist organizations. They actually propelled us through collaborating with us to their audience, which is a more activist-oriented and feminist audience. Women who love comics, but who don't go into typical comic shops, just because there has been a disconnect. So that was one way. Another way, we have one token male member in our collective. I have to brag about it. He had this brilliant idea of starting a Zine Fest, like some of the festivals we've heard about. So we've already had 2 festivals. We call it DIY Zine Fest. And it brings a lot of new people who, again, are looking for something a bit different, and also showcasing younger artists who didn't have the opportunity to really showcase their work at other comic festivals, because those comic festivals are more oriented towards the commercial side and who really kind of focus on bringing well-known guests rather than trying to highlight the local talents that are already there. So we're still working on it, but bit by bit, I think we'll make an impact.
Maybe just to add to Jana, something that is very important for Serbia is that we have a market that is kind of non-existing, like really, but there are so many people that I'm sure they would read local stories. They would like to read stories that are about ordinary people and not First World War, Second World War, or knights, like Middle Ages Serbia. So there is a pool of people that I know we can attract, and they would read it, but there is not enough material right now because we just started making these small stories about human life. So I think the challenge is how to make enough and at the same time attract these people that will start definitely. Like my mother would read something that she can recognize herself in, but I don't see my mother reading what is currently given in Serbia. So I think the challenge is how do we make enough so that we are visible with these stories, and then the rest will just fall in. And I don't think even focusing only on young people, although it's very important, I don't think that is the whole market. We really are missing people of all ages that can recognize themselves in the stories. And maybe that is what we will be trying to focus on. I see it as when I am 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, I want to read about this part of life. I want to read about my own experiences. And I think we will do this kind of planning also. What can we offer so that everybody can read something and be, you know, like a small explosion of joy. Like this is the feeling I think everybody can have, whatever the age, gender, whatever, everybody can be happy about the book. So just to find enough books and make them for everyone and not just for a boy club or yeah, that's I think what we will try to do as Stripotetke.
Thank you. And Eszter, same question for you. How are you trying to reach new audiences? Is the place in the center big enough for new audience?
Yeah, so I mentioned the difficulty of having a comics culture in a country which doesn't really have a comics culture, but another challenge is educating those people who already read comics. So as the International Comics Festival aims to reach communities like the Ukmukfukk founders are selling their things, and then superhero people are selling superhero stuff, it's very difficult to navigate expectations against the mainstream, which has infinite marketing potential. I'm talking about Marvel. Like, so whenever you want to introduce a new artist, as I have already mentioned, you are just competing with Marvel, which is impossible. So it's almost an endless work to give people alternatives and teach them alternative approaches to comics that, because they have this influx of mainstream American superheroes. And I was really amazed that actually here at Tinta Festival we don't have that. So it's a very different comics culture that you have here as the one that we have in Hungary. So this already is very inspiring, and yeah, educating the people who are already reading comics is another endless difficult mission.
Thank you all. I hope we have this conversation again in 5 years and everything will be flourishing. But since we're a little out of time, I would like to invite you all back in 5 minutes for the masterclass of Noémie Marcilly. But first, let's give a big applause for our friends from the region.